Hello, Starknet family. Thanks a lot. I'm very happy to be here. Thanks a lot to Sam, Greg, their teams, and all the sponsors for making this epic starknetCC possible. And secondly, thanks a lot to the audience as well for being here. And I would also like to kick off this panel by asking you for a general question, which is, have you ever considered the pivotal role that content creation will be playing in the future in order to unlock the full potential of Starknet, of its tech, and of its community? Well, I'm sure you have, and that's why in this panel, Starkpilling the World through content creation, we are going to raise some more awareness about the importance of creating educational content in order to onboard as many devs, contributors, and users as possible. I'm Nurstar. I curate a daily recap about the Starknet ecosystem. I'm the host of the Star Cafe show, and I'm a co-host of the Hablando de Starknet Spanish-speaking show, and I'm also a proud contributor of the Starknet Eco community. And today I'm in very good company, as I'm here with Henri, dev advocate from Starkware, host at the Starkstruck podcast, and he also hosted several Starknet community calls and endless workshops. And is also known for the best and most relaxing voices in the ecosystem. So have a seat, relax, enjoy his voice and this panel. Then we have the pleasure to have Gurkha, content creator and content manager at the Starknet Eco community, host of the Walk the Talk interview series, and he also produced Inside Starkware, a very cool documentary about this amazing company, and he's been doing an amazing job at documenting most of the Starknet conferences that took place in the last year. And last but not least, we have Emma from ZK Land. She, CMO, Chief Marketing Officer at ZK Land. And besides having a great product, the ZK Land team have been producing very high quality educational content. And some examples are the Sand and Friends podcast and countless AMA sessions and content campaigns in order to educate people about Starknet. And she's been doing that often behind the scenes, but she definitely deserves a shout out for playing a pivotal role in her company, at ZK Land, and for the whole Starknet ecosystem. And so thanks a lot. And let's start, with tell me some of your experiences in dealing with content creation. Also mention some pros and cons, some good things and challenges that you faced while creating content on Starknet. And maybe we can start with Henri.
Okay, I'm going to sit here. So the first thing I want to mention is I don't think this is Gurkha. Gurkha has glasses. It is known.
No, I'm doxed now. Fully doxed this time.
So, I think one of the first challenge we got early on when we started the team and we started working on Starknet is where do you start, right? It's often the case when you explain something and it's something that is cross-discipline, right? You want to tell a story, you want to tell the story of an ancient kingdom. Where do you start, right? How long do you go back to explain the context? Where do you start explaining Starknet? Do you start at validity proofs? Do you start at blockchains? Do you start at Web3? And putting the line was kind of difficult because as soon as you draw the line, you exclude people. So then you have to define who you're talking to. So it's not an easy process because there's so much to do. You feel like you want to take everything on. You feel like, oh, I want to draw everyone to Starknet. But the truth is, it's better to draw your focus, say, no, it's better to draw the line a bit closer and exclude more people, but focus highly on the people you want to engage with. So it can be a bit frustrating to me to draw that line, but at the same time, I think it's really healthy and important.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree with you. So I think it's very important to specialize in one niche, to identify your target, and try your best to create content based on that. And what about you, Gurk?
Do you hear me? Yeah. I mean, in terms of experiences, it's been a crazy ride for me because honestly, I'd never expect to sit here because exactly 1 year ago I started doing my documentary series here in Paris. It's been crazy. I've been meeting a lot of great personalities who inspire me to push also with my content side. But like in terms of challenges, I would say it's the same with what Henri said. I agree. Like if I do a documentary, the core idea is what story do I want to tell? For me, it's like mostly the developers or for developers itself. For me, they are the rock stars. So I would also say in terms of challenges is to keep up because Starknet is always evolving. There's always something new. And yeah, but you have to keep up to date, and that's what we do basically.
Absolutely. What about you, Emma?
Hello. Okay, great. So I'm Emma. As Nurstar mentioned, so I do the marketing at ZK-Lend, and when we talk about content creation, I'd kind of want to just say, like, my perspective is more from like a dApp protocol, and as a DeFi dApp on Starknet, it's not just about, onboarding developers or getting people excited. What we ultimately want to do is get users, basically, right? So content creation for me isn't just, pushing out the content, but also creating ways to interact and engage with new potential users, and also keep that momentum going. So for me, like one of the kind of in Web3 marketing, one of the challenges has been looking at how do we integrate more Web3 native marketing tools, which are really well developed on an EVM ecosystem. So things like on-chain activities and on-chain social platforms like Rabbit Hole or Crew3 have been really great, but oftentimes because it is in Cairo, you don't have that integration, and they turn around and say, we'd love to be integrated in Starknet, but that will take us some time before we do that. So that's been a bit of a challenge, but I'm also quite optimistic now as the ecosystem evolves and gets better, and obviously all these new plugins will want to join us. On the other hand, like I think one thing that has been really great for us has just been how helpful the ecosystem is. I think because everyone is building so fast and we all want to help each other, being able to reach out to people and create like cross-dApp campaigns to kind of infiltrate and extend our user, beyond just pure DeFi users to like games and other things like that. For example, we had the Dux campaign. So Dux is a Starknet native project, and it's been really good to work with them, but also, like spread ZK-Lend brand beyond just, like NFT and, just DeFi. So, like going beyond that and gamifying it has been a really, really great experience.
That's great.
Short question. Do we have ducks over here? Can I get a quack quack, perhaps?
Yes, please. Quack, quack.
Oh, you guys know.
Good to know.
That's great, guys. Well, if I could mention, some of the challenges that, I faced during my journey as an independent content creator on Starknet is maybe what I call the, independent content creators dilemma, which, consists in having to maintain a balance between creating high quality, fundamentals driven and neutral content, while being attractive to sponsors, so making a living out of it. So you also often could get caught in the crossfire between competing projects. So I think there's not an exact solution to this, but I think being transparent, honest, and friendly with everybody could be a part of the solution.
Definitely, and I think from our perspective, like. We have the opportunity to work with like Twitter KOLs or, people like that. But sure, I think that kind of content has a place and time. But, we really want to move towards working with long-term people because it's better for us if, we create those connections and like, they don't disappear in 6 months or 9 months or whatever it is. So, yeah.
Absolutely. What about you, Henri? Because maybe at Starkware, you need to maintain that kind of neutrality. And so did you have any bad experiences or what was, your philosophy in navigating this type of stuff?
So you mean in terms of neutrality?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you mean towards specific projects?
Yeah, or like hosting competing projects in the same time, and maybe one day you wake up in a very good mood, and so without doing it on purpose, that podcast about Project X will be worse then about, or better, about the next one?
Yeah, I see what you mean. Well, first of all, like, I think the main thing I try to drive when I talk with people is to say that the door is always open. So if at some point you feel cheated by me, you should know that it's because I'm lazy or because I'm too busy or I didn't manage it. Like, I'm very rarely sneaky, and when I don't like stuff, I say it up front in general. So if you feel you've been cheated by me, probably it's by mistake, and then you should come to me and say, hey, do you think we can do this? Do you think we can do that? Like, let's try to fix it together. And I think keeping this open door and saying it often, and I do say often, hey, if there's anything I can do to help me, come ask. It's not empty words, and I do emphasize this a lot. Now, I do try to read the room. So when I host Project A and they're competing with Project B, I try also to get Project B some love. And I try to shine a light on people regardless. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, yeah.
In terms of neutrality, I fully agree with you, Nurstar. It's also the same for me. Like in the beginning, I was focusing more on the relationship, building relationship with the builders individually, building friendships, and afterwards you could consider about the business side. But for now, if I'm not neutral, I can't really express the content, as it is, without having a bias.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. And what would you suggest to people who would like to create content about Starknet and to projects which are starting, maybe which are planning their own content strategy? What would you suggest to them? And also do that according to your own, style and field. For example, in Henri's case, would be creating content aimed at core developers and builders in general. In Gurkha's and my case, would be about creating educational and news content in order to engage the community, the overall community. And for Emma, it would be about creating content which is aimed at educating potential users of a particular DApp. So maybe Emma, yeah.
Hello. Yeah, both of them work, so it's fine. I would say, as a DApp builder, again, we want to attract users at the end of the day, so it's very commercially oriented. I think for me, it's always considering kind of the market and the segmentation and kind of being very intentional about everything you do, because even if, say campaign A has no real cost in a way, so you're not actually giving people real money, if it's NFTs or say tokens or whatever, that's still, there's still people like us behind the scenes who have to put time and effort into it. So it's actually just understanding exactly which segment of DeFi users we're trying to target. So, whether that is people existing on Starknet who, might be playing around on bricks, or whether they are, other L2 people who are, also very DeFi native, or, whether they are, people who live on L1 ETH. So that's something I would say. And I think moving forward, we'd really like to do more protocol-facing stuff. So, more stuff about users, the user journey, and why zkLend is going to provide a really great borrow and lending experience, basically.
Awesome.
The question was advising, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not a marketing guy, so I can only speak from the influencer content creation side. I would say the most key component is understanding the tech first, somewhat. You don't have to be a super Cairo dev, but at least understand it a little bit and also understand the culture, because Starknet does have a unique culture which grew organically. It wasn't enforced. You can clearly see it with the MTPST, Quantum Leap V12. Yeah, so that was it evolved naturally, and as mentioned, you should just understand it. It might be challenging at the beginning. So also understand our memes. Our memes are technical, and it might sound cringe, but it is a part. It's a part of culture, and we saw it with all the MTBST success.
Great. What about you?
On my side, so recently I was talking with a friend who is the captain of a warship, right? But the warship is currently being built, and we're talking about it. And he told me, the cost of a warship is 10% development, 20% is construction, and 70% is maintenance. And I think the same rule holds true for some kind of content creation. So before you go into content creation, figure out if your content is fire and forget, or if it's something you will have to maintain. Is it some content where you will push updates regularly, and it doesn't matter if that content falls out of fashion, or figure out if it's content where you will need to link people back to later on. If it's the latter, you should seriously consider the implication, because maintaining content in a fast-moving environment is very long and very, very burdensome, and it is 70% of the cost. It's very easy to start new projects, it's hard to maintain them. So that will be the first thing, like identify how you're gonna emit content. And the second thing is, if you're trying out stuff, this is fine. With my team, we're doing this a lot. We tried a lot of format, right? We did community call, then live workshops, we started a newsletter, we started a podcast, and don't fall in love with those. They're good as long as they fit a purpose, but don't be afraid to let them die if at some point they don't get the reception they need, or you wish they had. Or don't be afraid, even if they have traction, don't be afraid of letting them die if you don't have time. It's okay to focus if you want to deliver on something that you feel is more valuable.
Yeah, I agree. In my case, I tried out a different kind of video formats, short formats, thread formats, and I experiment a lot. So it takes time until you figure out what's like your mojo, more or less. So I fully agree what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think from like a DAP perspective, you kind of want to create like a unified story that, you know, you look back and it makes sense. It's not just, you know, like random things here and there. And sometimes that's hard because the industry is evolving so quick, you know what I mean? Like, you know, what could be hot now might not be hot later. So again, like just being agile enough and not getting too attached, and just having a framework in your mind of what you think is successful from this campaign, from this content, and just being able to kind of go with that, basically.
That's great. Thanks a lot, guys, for such a helpful advice. And you know, I would also say that you know, if you want to create content on Starknet, you should always you know, try your best to stay genuine, and also don't be afraid you know, of asking people with experience about some advice, because you know, one thing that characterizes the Starknet ecosystem is that most of us keep their doors open. So we are here to help you out, any advice you should need. And well, do we still have 5 minutes? Okay, very good. So if we can divide the history of Starknet in before Quantum Leap and after Quantum Leap, I would say that up to the Quantum Leap, it made a lot of sense to create educational content aimed at, you know, they would target on one hand developers who wanted to learn Cairo, and on the other hand entertaining the overall community, because obviously it's not very easy to keep up with such a new and fast-growing ecosystem. But even so, you know, obviously these two types of content categories will be very important in the future. I still believe that right now, having a very performing product, we'll have to start thinking about you know, creating content which can be consumed by people who are not very familiar with blockchain technology at all. In some cases, we're talking about people who don't even care, who won't realize that they're using a product which is powered by blockchain. So my question is, how will we Starkpill the world through content creation? Yeah.
Thank you. I think post and pre-Quantum Leap, the biggest change from like my perspective and what I do is mostly from the user perspective. So the UX is much better now, things go through much faster. And I think as the ecosystem kind of emerges, what I would really love to see is kind of, you know, more of the education content and stuff being taken up by, you know, the foundation. So, you know, like DApp developers like myself and other people in the space can focus on actually building out, you know, like content creation that's more specific to the specific functionalities that their DApp offers. Obviously, earlier on, everyone was just building in the space. So, you know, I think a lot of the dApps did kind of take up that slack a little bit, you know, like educating users from the very beginning, you know, why this is important, why ZK is the future. But kind of as we move forward, I'd love to see kind of like a greater maturity in the space and stuff. So I'm really excited for that.
Okay, so people in the audience, can you raise your hand if you know the difference between IPv4 and IPv6? All right, who knows here what is a CDN? Okay, who can explain how the DNS protocol works? Okay, so a decent amount of people, obviously not the vast majority of people. Who here uses internet? Right. Who knows how to explain how the messenger feature of Facebook works, right? How you open a tab and you send a message on Facebook. Who knows how to do that? Right? My point being that, maybe we don't need to Starkpill the world. Maybe we just need compelling products that will educate their users on using their product, right? If you need to explain why your app is better so that people use it, is it really better? I don't know. I think that there's at some point, at least from my point of view, right? From the point of view of the network, my target audience is still developers. I want people to build on my network, but I feel like their product, they're the best people to train their user to explain it. They're the best people to build compelling user. So to me, as I'm talking with developers, my main audience and the main difference between post-quantum leap and pre-quantum leap is, I like to say it this way, pre-quantum leap, the network was really hard to use, both for users and both for developers. My focus was mostly on retention. I wanted all the devs who were here to stick around, to solve their problems so that they are able to build and keep building. Now, with Quantum Leap, the network is much easier to use and it's much easier to build on. So my focus is going to switch a little bit to acquisition. How do I get more developers on board? And spoiler alert, I'm going to call each and every one of you to ask you to take newbies by the hand and explain them how to be an efficient developer on Starknet and mentor them on cool stuff, right? So that's going to be the big change for me with the post and pre-Quantum Leap.
So in my case, in terms of audience, pre-Quantum Leap, it was mostly the Starknet ecosystem itself. My core audience is actually developers from the Starknet ecosystem, but it happened because I built relationships with them in a sense. And post-Quantum Leap, I would say, is focusing on entertainment and knowledgeable content, having a perfect, nice balance with both of the worlds. Because we live in an attention economy, right? So, and I think my target audience now in post-Quantum Leap will be people out of our ecosystem, meaning maybe Solana, who would like to experiment a little bit, would like to gain more information about Starknet. And there are multiple ways you can do it, videos, short videos, etc.
That's great. Yeah, I also believe we could think about ways to make also maybe like the existing quests that we have in the ecosystem, maybe making them a bit more appealing for people who don't know anything about blockchain. Obviously, we need to study a bit in order to implement such a solution. But yeah, I agree also with what Henri said, and I think that also a good product, obviously a good and easy to use product, will help a lot in order to educate users, in an organic way. And yeah, I would like to know if there's anybody from the audience who would like to say, their opinion about the matter. If they want to answer to the question, how will we Starkpill the world? Is there anybody?
So we're seeing a lot of cool DeFi stuff and cool technological computational stuff on Starknet. But on-chain, are we missing a social element to Starknet right now? There's no Lens protocol equivalent. There's no social media or whatever, social platform in some sense. Is Starknet the place for it? If not, what are your thoughts on it, basically?
That sounds like a business opportunity.
I'm not sure if I can build something like that, to be honest, but for me, I think Twitter is for now good enough to spread my message, because most of the users are using Twitter.
I think right now, just because it's not there doesn't mean that it's not temperate. And I think the ecosystem now has a really strong base where you can build that. And sure, there might not be exact protocols as built out like Lens, but there are really cool communities building up, especially the gaming community. The Dux community is really great, the Brick community is really great. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for plugging in to other Web3 stuff. So Rabbit Hole or even Crew 3, once they kind of plug it into the Starknet ecosystem, there's a lot of opportunity there.
That's great. Yeah, I would also like, to thank some of the, of the other projects which have been spending a lot of energies in, educating their own users and also to create educational content about Starknet. So, for example, like Bravos, Bertrand did an amazing job, and he also taught me a lot of things. And also hashtag, they've been hosting countless Twitter spaces, and shout out to Aris over there. And thanks. Thank you. And I would like to close this panel by inviting the audience and all of us to envision a future where content creation, educational and fundamental driven educational resources will be playing an integral and crucial part of each communities and projects strategy in order, to Starkpill the world and as many people as possible with organic and easy to consume content. So thanks a lot once again to all the audience, to the panelists, and to Only Dust and Not Guardians, and to all the sponsors. Once again, it's been an amazing starknetCC, and I would like also to touch where Vitalik said. It will bring a good luck, and thanks a lot once again. Thank you.